Hey guys, so a lot's changed this patch for AD carry. The role is a lot more even, and like Vayne is a lot better after our ultimate change, that is for sure. So first of all, before top 5, best solo queue carry potential pick I think is going to be Draven. It's hard to put him in a top 5 ranking because of the massive difference between like a good one and a bad one. Now saying that, he has the highest potential to kick off and really hard carry a game by himself. I think he is the best AD carry to one trick, like the rank 1 on Europe West just got there with Draven, right? There is some insane outplay potential and you really do not need your support to do much, to be honest. He is better the higher you get, I think. Like, the better a Draven player you are, the higher you're going to get. He doesn't really get the quickest results, actually, but he can always go nuts early and get a lead or be a threat, I guess. That means you aren't really relying on your team as much, the more on you, which I think is good for solo queue. Anyway, take further, rush a Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, go ham and get some free low. The actual one to climb with is going to be Tristana because she is so safe, and safe is a lot of the time what wins a game at the moment. Obviously, it's not just safe, but like if you can survive getting jumped on and stuff, not die to ganks, not die to bruises diving in, then you're halfway there to winning already. I think one of the most underrated parts about her is actually her kill potential early. This is kind of why, in my opinion, you go BS Sword Pickaxe rather than Zeal or like Boots too early. You want more AD for your E, which rank 5 is 90% bonus AD, which is a lot, by the way. Plus, you have your Q for attack speed anyway. This is kind of why Triss is so deadly, because she can get ahead early, then stay really safe, not die, use that damage to carry. The main parts about Triss, you have a decent early game kill pressure, like we just said. It separates the good and the okay Tristanas. Good ones will dive in to get kills, okay ones will sit there and farm. You also have your resets, which means you pick up more kills. You have your tower taking with your E, more gold, more of a snowball, even if you don't really think about it. The E explosions as well, like damage when you farm. It means more farm, you're getting more gold, more items, and more damage. And because she is so high range, it is very easy to play her. Final thing is how safe she is. Like we said, you jump away, you have a knockback, you have the jump, the resets, and you have this high range. Bad stuff really though is you're not the best late game because you're single target. It sounds very strange. Obviously any crit champion can be good, but compared to others, she's very good single target, but Twitch, Jinx, Kog'Maw and stuff, they are AoE. Also, your Q is a lot of your damage, the attack speed. If you mess it up, you're going to be missing out on a ton. And actually, you don't have the highest damage either. You're ranked like 12th out of 16th or something on average. You're just safe, you don't die, and you have the resets. So number 2 is Vayne, and she could easily be number 1 right now, I think, but she's so bad early game, it is unreal. It shows how hard it is to end the game early when she's still got such a good win rate overall, though. Like, I think this is a proper carry pick. None of this safe stuff with Tristana, just a lot of damage and a lot of kidding stuff. You die more than most AD carries on Vayne, which isn't really a surprise. That's where Vayne spotting comes from, but you kill more than most as well. You're the worst for assists. It's all about the glory play. The new buffs that came in, I thought would kind of be a nerf overall actually, but they actually feel really good. One thing is you are worse when behind because you don't have this like spike when you get Shiv and Infinity Edge now. You used to be able to tumble in with those 2 items and burst people, right? Even when you're behind, it didn't really matter, but that doesn't work anymore. Overall though, your damage is probably better late game. I think your ultimate is so good for team fights. You get a kill or an assist or whatever, and even more stealth, AD, move speed. That is so hard to shut down. So the main stuff with Vayne, late game monster, right? Even though you're single target, you kill things really fast with your bolts, so it doesn't actually matter that you're single target. You always have a chance to turn the game around. If you're ahead, it's very hard for them to come back because you are a Vayne and you're approaching these late game fights. You have this team fight safety as well with your stealth. Even though you're kind of short range and stuff, you're hard to focus. Like, it's just hard to survive earlier into the game. You're also really good with sensor now, even better than before probably, but there are quite a few weaknesses. So like, you're really bad early game. You don't even have a positive win rate until 25 minutes into the game. That is how bad it is. You're also not good at taking towers. You aren't great at dealing with being camped, and you're a shorter range than most crit AD carries in this meta. So you have to dedicate and fly in. So number 3, Twitch. Like Vayne, just insane late game. Like, even better. Same damage, but kind of AoE now, right? And that's the difference maker. Even at just like 2 items into the game, that AoE can be brutal, but he's also easier to focus and kill at that point, I think. Late, he legit is going to delete people, plus he starts in stealth, right? How do you dive a guy you can't see? If that Twitch is smart and waits for the engage to already happen, like waits for the enemy to be distracted and stuff, and then pops out, you have a really good chance to come out on top, I think. The reason he's not number 1 for me anymore is because he needs you to be more proactive, and most people are lazy, let's be real, when they play solo queue. You've got to roam, you've got to kind of surprise junglers, mid laners, and get ahead like that. Sitting back is like fine, I guess, because you're so good late game, but that is not what makes him so strong, if that makes sense. You can just wait for late if you really want to, but like the roam assassinate game is why he's looked so beast all season. So main reasons you pick Twitch, like AoE damage with your ultimate, lots of natural damage as well. So even when you're behind, you can actually do a lot. You have your attack speed from your Q, the ultimate, like hitting everybody, your runes hitting everybody, your crits and your poison as well. You can roam to get fed, so you don't need to worry about your lane phase as much. Typically, you actually spend the least time farming out of any AD carry. You get your gold from killing kills and assists. I think one of the big things is if you're better than your opponents, it's quite easy to show that on Twitch. Like, you prey on bad players out of position, not respecting that Twitch can kind of be anywhere. Also, as we said, insane late game. The best actually when it comes to 6 items, even probably 4 or 5 items. Now, you are weak early though. You can fight, but on average, less than a 50% win rate before 25 minutes if it ends that early, which honestly doesn't happen that often anymore. Ideally, you would want a sensor and some protection to be seriously overpowered, but a lack of farm and stuff means if you don't roam, you do get less gold. That sounded a lot less obvious in my head, but also no escape. So if you get caught, you're pretty donezo. Quick thing with the build, honestly, like either Infinity Edge first or Runins, it's kind of up to you. Blade is okay as well if you want to fight more, but I actually prefer the 2-item crit spike with Infinity Edge and Runins and the AoE crits. Okay, so we're going to separate 4 and 5 in these top 5s for below gold and above gold. The meta is actually pretty different at the moment for each of them, so it doesn't really make sense to put them together. Below gold, it's more about damage and how easy it is to use that damage. Also, early fights happen a lot more, which means you have more of a chance to get fed or get some gold. So number 4 is Jinx, and she could actually replace Tristana below gold, believe it or not. She's easier and a higher damage version as well. We think of her as like a late game carry, right? And yes, that's kind of true, but actually she's really good early game. If she gets ahead, she is like very, very hard to beat. High range, big crits, AoE crits, and the resets as well. Those resets give a lot of attack speed, which most people forget, and at that stage in the game, that means more crits with your Infinity Edge that you've just bought, and you can't really focus her either. When you pair that with how easy she is to play, it mostly comes down to like right-clicking with rockets, right? And that isn't a bad thing. It means you can focus on the other things like positioning, kiting, rather than like how you're going to get your damage off. So main things with Jinx, insane damage, right? Resets, mop up more kills afterwards. When you're ahead, you're going to stay ahead because you are actually getting the first kill in the fight. You have these AoE rockets and crits, you have high range, and you're very simple to play. And chompers can actually lead to a lot of kills early. Like, yes, they're really good for peeling for yourself and stuff. By the way, drop them on yourself if somebody is chasing you because they take some time to activate. But actually, like a thresh hook or a blitzcrank hook into your chompers afterwards is a really good CC chain, which is probably enough to get a kill. Unfortunately, though, you are really immobile, so you can get jumped on. And if you're behind, you don't really have enough damage. Like, you are purely auto-based for damage, right? If you don't have any items, you don't have any damage because you are relying on basically just your auto attacks. So for number 5, then, we have Xayah, and here for the safety part, just like Tristana, to be honest. It makes her really good for solo queue because people cannot kill you. She also has a lot of AoE damage. Your E and feathers really do add up way more than you probably think they do. You're doing a lot more because you're looking at like the target in front of you. You don't realize you're hitting everybody behind them as well. It might feel like you aren't really doing that much, but you are, I guess. You're just not the highest single target damage. And when you learn her feathers and E more, you can burst and kite really well. It's just a bit weird. You do have a lot of kill potential, which is really good for the lane phase. 6 or 7 feathers if you get to that point, and your E can half health somebody easily, even like 3 or 4. That is a lot of setup, right? So it's not just about raw damage for Xayah. That's good if you have a good team, but it's bad if you don't, I think. Your ultimate also makes it almost impossible to die at the start of a fight, and you last a lot longer even versus fed enemies, which can kind of give your team an advantage in the fight. Your W finally adds attack speed, which is really cool for a crit build, but 20% more damage on those hit, which is really good at 6 items. So the reason you'll pick Xayah over others, I guess, is your ability to outplay a lot with her feathers and her E. You can set up these plays and ganks and stuff with her roots. Your AoE damage is nuts, especially if she gets fed. Those crits really, really hurt. And so you have this good early to mid-game champion, this good early mid-game damage, and also really good late game if you get 6 items. The biggest thing is your ultimate. You're just so safe as long as you use it properly, and you are more utility, which helps other champions in the game carry. That utility, though, is also a weakness. You don't have the raw damage to hard carry as easily unless you get fed early. Your mid-game is going to be insane at like 1 or 2 items, whether you get fed or not, but like 4 or 5 items, she definitely falls off a bit. Then you're just kind of holding on to 6 items. At the 6 items, with that much crit and your W, you can almost one-shot carries. It's really good, but like it can be hard to get to that point. It's also harder to play those team fights because you're shorter range than most crit champions right now, so it's very much about how good you are with her. If you're like only average to good, you need a decent team. So moving back to number 4, but for above gold now, so plat and diamond and stuff, like Xayah I think is actually going to be here, so moving up a little bit. She's better at high ranks because she is harder to really carry with, like we said before. It depends how good you are. She's also better with better teammates. She is really good though. I know some high-elo players will put her like top 3, top 2 just because of how safe she is and how much you can really outplay people with the feathers. We're not going to go into it again because we just did, but like number 5, Cogmore. So there's less Lulu bands right now, and Sensor gives more attack speed and more on hit damage than before this patch, so it's actually insane for Cogmore. It really does depend on having Sensor though. Like if you don't have Sensor, don't really pick him, I think, which kind of sucks, but at higher ranks people see Cog and they know Sensor is OP with him and they will pick one. To give you an idea, Sensor supports have like a 52 to 64% win rate with Cog, which is pretty good. A non-sensor support though is at 44 to 48%, so that's actually pretty bad. The exception is Braum, because Cogmore can proc the stun from really far away with his W, and the peel and stun makes up for the lack of sensor really. This whole meta shift is why we get a Rage Blade first normally now in Cog. Pair that with like Runans, and the on-hit damage from sensor is really high, and picks if you have a Lulu. Cogmore as a champion is decent. Like, you're really good at winning mid-game because you only need those 2 items to take off. 3, I guess, if you count the sensor, but it's really just Rage Blade and Runans. Main reasons you would pick Cog, why he's here in top 5, abuse sensor more than any other. That's actually legit number 1. You also have the highest damage output out of any AD carry because of that. Really good mid-game, overtakes any AD carry in a team fight, I think, even if he was behind to start with. And actually late game, he's still good, but crit champions kind of catch up a bit more. Weaknesses: immobile, easy to focus down and gank, relies on your team and support more than other AD carries for sure. It's like an opposite of a safe choice, right? It's all or nothing almost, and you're picking him just for the damage. Now, a few other things quickly. What about Caitlyn? So the most asked question I got after Vayne was stuff about Kate. Like, I don't know, she seems good, but not amazing anymore. She's in the middle of the pack, right? Her damage is not as good as before. Her early game seems weaker, and her mid game is her weakest phase anyway, so that is not really what we want. Tower taking is even better though, and if you play around that, so you push, you take towers, you swap lanes, then she is actually really strong. If you try and fight, then there are other picks that are going to do her job a lot better. So there are definitely good buffs and stuff, just not where she was OP before. Now anyway, that was way more detail than I normally do, but hopefully it should help you a lot more, and let me know what you think of this. Thank you for watching, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.